Are you ready for an encounter that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about life, death, and the beyond? In October of 2020, one woman found herself in the midst of a near-death experience that would change her life forever. As she lay on her bed, struggling with the effects of COVID-19 and on the verge of unconsciousness, she suddenly found herself walking with her feet not touching the floor. A voice spoke to her from behind, saying it's the prayers of the saints holding you up, and as she turned the corner, she saw things that she could never have imagined. Angels, otherworldly beings, and a light of love and joy that defied description. This is a story that will leave you with more questions than answers, but one thing is certain, it will stay with you long after you've finished with the story. I caught COVID in October of 2020. I caught it while caring for my husband, who caught it while caring for his father, who had it. His father was hospitalized and later died. My husband ended up in the hospital and nearly died. I'm so glad he didn't. But on this particular day, I was feeling very weak and sick, and I was lying in bed, feeling as if I was about to pass out. I felt myself slipping away, and I reasoned that if I'm feeling this bad, my husband, who was in the den and was sicker than I was, could be feeling even worse and may have died, so I went to get out of bed. But when I did, my feet did not make contact with the floor. I began walking, but my feet were not touching the ground. This was perplexing to me, but I continued walking, and a voice or words were spoken to me from behind me, right behind my right shoulder. "It's the saints' prayers that keep you going," they said. I know this makes no sense now, but I started repeating it because it made sense at the time. As I walked around the corner from my bedroom, it was as if my right eye peeled back and I could see into this other world, this other realm, bathed in this glorious light. I now realize that this was a curtain or veil rather than my actual eye peeling back, but at the time it appeared that my right eye was peeling back and I was gradually able to see through the walls in my house. There were now beings where there were once walls. I could even see with my left eye. My left eye is completely blind, I have blindness in my left eye. But I could see these two hideous creatures crouched down in the darkness to my left, where there was once a bench up against a wall. They were crouching and looking to the right at someone behind me. They were hideous, with reptilian and amphibian skin that was dark in color. They had legs and arms, as well as long fingernails and teeth, but I didn't stare at them for very long. I turned to my right, and there he was, this being, this angel protector. He was staring at me. He was enormous, taller than the roof of my house, but the roof of my house no longer existed. He was a fighter. And there were 4 more like him behind him, where my house's wall should have been. He was wearing a helmet. The helmet was well fitting to his head and a lovely brownish, bronze color. The way he looked at me, his eyes were very caring. "Are you okay? You're okay, we're making sure you're okay," he said. Such things were said to me without him actually saying them. These angels were incredible. The way they were standing. They didn't have swords drawn, nor did I see wings, but they were dressed in beautiful armor that looked perfect and royal, and the way they stood, they weren't afraid of anything, nor were they angry, but they were certainly keeping those heinous creatures from harming me and my family. They didn't even have to look at those creatures, who were all crouching and snarling and unable to move. The creatures remained in the shadows, in the darkness. The angel closest to me, the one who had been right at my right shoulder the entire time, made close eye contact with me at one point, and there was a joy and almost a playfulness in his eyes. He seemed to recognize me. He was young but powerful, and just by looking at him, I knew he belonged to the king. But what was over everything, and what I can't get out of my mind, was the light. It's the most beautiful light I've ever seen, white and golden at the same time, clear and iridescent, like peering through the wing of a dragonfly. Pure, holy, and flawless. The light was alive, and it was love and love. And I wanted to stay there forever. And the light is known as glory. It is Heavenly Father speaking. He is the Glory Father. And this light is right there, through the veil. Open the curtain and slip inside, and it's all around you. But I can't get through that curtain like I did that day. So I'm always looking for this light. During sunrises and sunsets. During sun showers. In light reflections on water. I chase the light and am slightly obsessed with it. But I know it's there, even if I can't see it as clearly as I did that day. And there was this large group of people waiting for me. I was told they were saints and my heart family, and they were all in the light. And it was absolutely lovely. They were all dressed in long robes made of pure, fine linen. I touched one of them's linen, and it wasn't too heavy or too light, and the light was all in it. The robes were neither masculine nor feminine, but rather royal in appearance. Perfect. Heavenly. And they were special people because they wore the robes, or because the robes revealed that they were special people. Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly. There was this one young lady who approached me at one point. She was shorter than me and had soft, light brown curls. Her hands felt so familiar, but she was much younger than my Mimi. It had to be my Mimi. At one point in my life, she was my favorite person in the entire world. I felt love when she lightly touched my brow. Perhaps it was her. I really hope it's her. But I'm just not sure. But those who were present were all standing around watching. They were standing perfectly spaced, not equally, but perfectly. Some were in groups of 2, while others were alone. They were not, however, grouped together as we would be. It was arranged in such a way that they could easily see what was going on. They were all watching me peacefully, and they all knew and loved me, but I didn't stop and look at their faces. I wished I had stayed. I wished I had looked. But I couldn't stay or linger because I was worried about my husband. But there are still so many things, so many events piled on top of one another. I'm still sorting through events and images because there was no time there, not like there is here. It was not in order. It came to a halt and all at once. It's difficult to put into words. So many things remain jumbled. There were so many events that I'm still trying to sort through and make sense of. Colors I've never seen before that I'm trying to find here but can't. I try to draw or paint what I saw, but my efforts are woefully inadequate and do not even come close. There was this tree off in the distance that seemed so far away, but I knew I had to go there. I had the impression that Jesus was present and that I needed to see and speak with him. I don't recall walking to the tree, but I do recall being there. Jesus was enormous, and I was a child in comparison. He was sitting in front of the tree, and I was standing in front of him. He had my hands in his. I told him so many things, but I can't remember everything I said to him. He was assuring me that everything was fine. I recall him making everything okay. He adores me. He regards me as his child. I'm 52 years old, and he regards me as a child. And I'm finding it difficult to accept myself as a 52-year-old woman. Because Heavenly Father and Jesus see me as a child, I now see myself as a young girl. They regard us all as children. We can be so harsh on ourselves at times. Yes, there is evil in the world, but why are we so hard on ourselves if we are in the light and loving? Simply keep loving and being kind. Know that you are light in the spirit realm. You are walking in light, and it is very bright. I noticed the light. It was breathtakingly beautiful. I saw the shadows and darkness as well, they're there, but walking in the light isn't so difficult. And we have guardians. And a cheering section. It was more real to me than this life. When I returned to this realm, everything was dark in comparison to the light in the other realm. It's more real there than here, but what we do here is crucial. I remembered this experience much more easily and vividly than the events that occurred before and after it. I wish I could remember what day of the week it was and what time it was. I recall it being dark outside, but when I walked around the corner, there was light everywhere. People have inquired as to the color of the angels. The light illuminated everything. The light was permeating everything. They were a pure color and a light color, but they did not glow. They looked like men, but they weren't. There is one color in particular that I am obsessed with and have been trying to find here, and the closest I have come is the color of aged olive that has been polished. Perhaps the color of aged bronze refined by fire as well. But I'm not sure if that's just their armor's color. That was the color of their armor. Jesus was dressed in a long white robe. It was quite heavy and had reached his feet. He was dressed in sandals. They were unique, and I'd never seen sandals like that before. They were exquisitely crafted. He was wearing 2 different types of sashes. One was a bright blue and the other was yellow. Everything was made of fine material, not thin material, but richly made material. Nothing was outdated. Everything was brand new and regal. Fit for a king. This experience has altered my life. I will be forever changed. I have witnessed the glory of the Father. I've slipped through the veil and seen another realm that is always present alongside us. We have angel protectors, a heart family, a king, and a heavenly Father. But there's also darkness, shadows, evil, and Satan's minions. I noticed them as well. Because I was in the light, they posed no threat to me. I alternate between wanting to inform everyone and not wanting to inform anyone. People look at me as if I'm insane. My family is concerned about me. But I've evolved. I will be forever changed. My hope is in heaven, and I will never abandon it because I have seen the light. I've finally seen the light. And I recognize him.